Well, trying to do the live thing all over again. Um, let's see if it works this time. So this is a Ponzi scheme refereed by Trump strikes again. So let's see what they have to say.
I never expected I'd be part of a Ponzi. I never expected to lose money. You fantasize, you fantasize about, well, maybe I can buy a bigger house, or maybe I can send my kids to private school, do things that, you normally wouldn't do. But that made the pain more hard at the end.
He said, safe, safe, safe. We are going gangbusters.
This is all fake.
All right, so this is just my view when it comes to Ponzi's. Like Ponzi schemers will always make it seem like whatever investment you're doing, whatever investment you're doing is safe, and they'll play on your emotions for wanting more money. If you never want to get scammed, just never be money hungry. Pretty much. Because what they'll do is they'll get you hooked on the investment by people always like, let me just put in a small investment, like $1,000. They'll give you 100% return because all it's costing them is $1,000. And then the next thing you know, you put in 10 grand and 50 grand and 100 grand. And then the next thing you know, whenever they feel like they've got enough money out of you, it's gone. Or they can't keep the Ponzi up anymore, they're gone.
Think like everything is fictitious.
This is a story about a series of crimes that could have easily been prevented.
When I found out that Ellie Weinstein had done this before and his sentence was commuted by President Trump, I was livid.
Mr. Weinstein was given the ultimate second chance, and he squandered that opportunity, and he squandered it quickly.
What we have seen around the Trump administration is this feverish pardon market. We're seeing white-collar lawyers who charge huge amounts per hour.
Weinstein was found guilty in 2025. Our reporting suggests that he is also trying to build a team to fight for a second commutation.
They look to elected officials to seek pardons and then potentially do it again.
We're living in a crazy time that Trump is doing whatever he wants and nobody seems to be able to stop him.
I will say this, like every president gives a decent amount of pardons. I think they're trying to make it look like he's bad. I don't like President Trump or whatever like that or anything, but I will say that it is crazy to me that they always try and paint him in this like negative light, as though like Democrat presidents or other Republican presidents haven't done the same thing. Probably on a way worse level. But yeah.
It was financially and emotionally the most difficult year of my life. When people lose it all, it's very damaging. The community here is a tight-knit community, really focusing on family values. A lot of the church members that I know today are families that I've seen my entire life. I grew up with them. During COVID, one member of our community, one of my best friends at that point in time, Richard, approached me at the end of 2021 to discuss some potential business opportunities with masks, selling from Turkey to Israel. The church as a whole always talks about, giving back and living for the sake of others. Richard insisted that he has this contact, and Mike Koenig was the name that he eventually name dropped to me. And this guy was a legend in his sphere. He apparently knows people in the FDA. He knows people at NATO. The initial deal was for 25% in 3 months. When he gave me that interest payment, he also talked about there's another opportunity, and he spoke with a lot of excitement and compassion, and he was like, let's do this again. Richard.
I'll say this, it's always interesting to me how people will scam like people within their own community. And I'm not saying that you should go scam in general or scam other people, but like for instance, like this is like they use church or religion or people within those communities to, pretty much look for next victims because, if somebody has a similar interest to you, you usually kind of believe them or have some type of relatability to them, to trust them.
Was persistent on asking for more and more. He would even encourage people to borrow money and invest it into him.
See, I would never, like, working in finance, I would never suggest anybody borrow money to invest, especially when things like scams or unforeseen events or risks can occur. Because at worst, if you lose, let's just say that, like, if you really want to think about how you should invest, you should be diversifying your risk. So you shouldn't risk more than like 1%. So of your portfolio on anything speculative, so like business or anything like that. But if you have complete control over your business, I would say, it's perfectly fine to try and go all in, because everything relies on you at the end of the day. But when you're investing in other people or other people's businesses, you have to think like a speculator and not like an entrepreneur, I would say, because of the fact that they could run off with your money once you invest it with them, or they could, or in this case, it's a Ponzi.
And Mike, it's like, wow, I mean, who is this Mike Koenig if he knows so many people? And if he knows so many people, why does he need me with my money?
A slew of pardons, nearly 150 pardons and commutations for a host of powerful and famous people.
Ellie Weinstein is one of the people that Donald Trump granted clemency to in the final days of his first term. Weinstein was 8 years into a 24-year prison sentence, having been convicted for running a Ponzi-like scheme. Pardon, clemency, commutation, they're often used interchangeably. A pardon is a kind of carte blanche forgiveness. You're forgiven of the crime. A commutation is you are freed from prison, but you still face probation and restitution.
I didn't know
Mr. Weinstein was released in January 2021, and at trial it came out that by July of 2021, he had spoken about starting a new scheme.
Ellie Weinstein would...
It's crazy that he finally got out of prison and then goes right back to doing what got him in prison. Now, I'm curious what the scheme is, and then like how he's doing it, because who knows? Maybe it's a scheme, but it's not like, because I don't know if maybe they said it in the video, but maybe he is back in prison, because it said Ponzi-like scheme. So I'm really curious to see what it is that he's actually doing, like how the Ponzi is working and all that stuff.
Wouldn't have been able to perpetrate this Ponzi scheme were it not for him creating an alias that had none of his track record with the law. So to many people, including the co-conspirators, he was known by the name Mike Koenig.
At the time,
Okay, because I was thinking that these were two different people at first, so I didn't know that it was the same person, just sort of an alias.
we were still in the COVID era, and it seemed like a lucrative opportunity.
And through his network, he found Richard Curry and Chris Anderson.
They said that Mike Koenig was someone that had connections in the Middle East and Turkey and Israel and knew a lot about medical supplies deals. Victims testified at trial that part of why they wanted to invest here was because not only were they getting a great return on their profit, but they were doing something good for the world.
I'm Deirdre Vervo, and I own and operate Just Like Home. They are residential memory care homes for seniors with dementia. I met Chris Anderson 7-ish years ago. He presented himself as a very ethical person. He had called and said he came across an amazing opportunity to buy masks. My fiance and I both initially invested $200,000 and were to get back 12% after 3 months. And he asked us if we wanted.
I will say this: I never thought it was a good idea to invest that kind of capital in a national investment, unless you see proof. Like, you actually go to the facility. 200 grand is a little bit of money. Like I said, you know, people usually start with like a grand, maybe 5, 10 grand, something like that. But to go in 200 grand large is crazy.
To roll it into the next deal. So we just kept rolling it in and adding more money to it.
Ellie Weinstein was the puppet master, and he was really the one making it possible for this Ponzi scheme to continue.
There was loads and loads of photos and videos of boxes being packed, supply lines occurring in many parts of the world. What has become clear throughout the trial is much of that was entirely fabricated.
It is so important that we get a assembly line sweatshop showing that we have this FAK product. It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
See, this is exactly why, like, as investors, you have to always see like this shit with your own eyes. Like, don't take any video or anybody's word. Because at the end of the day, like, usually the people who get scammed or the people who are taken advantage of are people who don't do enough due diligence in whatever they're investing in or transacting with. Because I'm pretty sure if you actually push and you have those uncomfortable conversations and say, like, now I actually need to see the facility. Yeah, sometimes the Ponzi schemers or scammers or whatever are going to actually put in the work to run a facility and make it look, and then hire people to make it look like they have a legit facility and blah, blah, blah. But the likelihood of them doing that and actually being a scam is lower than you just trusting a video. Like, if you go and see the stuff in person and you don't just trust people for their word, you'll be a lot safer.
It just needs showing that there's an enormous amount of product.
The goal of these emails was to keep us investing with him because he kept asking for more money. We couldn't have gotten here without you. The fund is designed so that you, our friends and families, can continue to participate in a more significant and long-term way. It's crazy reading this back and seeing how many lies he made up. Before I let my mom invest or my kids, I said to him, are you absolutely certain? This is my mom. She's 86 years old. These are my kids. And he said, safe, safe, safe.
Never untrust anybody when they say that this is a safe investment. The thing that's horrible and that's crazy is the people who would tell you that the investment isn't safe are the people you should trust, and the people that tell you that it is safe are the people you shouldn't trust. Because there always comes risk when you're doing any type of investing or business or anything. Like, for example, they're using safety masks as a business, or like, you know, I forgot what they call like the business term for like medical supplies or whatever. But anyways, you know, let's just say that for whatever reason, one of the countries was like, oh, we don't allow these face masks because it's made with this type of material. So then the business is just done after that. At least between Turkey and Israel, I believe it was, the business is done. Unless you can find another supplier or whatever that meets Israel's requirements. But, you know, there always comes risk. And you should just never trust anybody when they tell you that something is safe when it comes to business. Because nothing is safe. Like, you always have risk.
We are going gangbusters.
The essential part of a Ponzi scheme is a fund manager using money that they're getting in from new investors to pay old investors. And those old investors think the money that they're receiving is from investments. So Weinstein and his co-conspirators were having a fair old time partying with investor money, spending it on private jets, on gambling at casinos. They even spent money on a very garish penthouse in Florida.
With any Ponzi scheme, it's always kind of functioning on the brink of destruction. At some point, it was going to come tumbling down.
They didn't know that Mike Koenig was actually Ellie Weinstein, but they started to get breadcrumbs of clues. They were having difficulty making the math add up. They then convene this kind of meeting with Weinstein and other co-conspirators where they confront him and say, hey, what's your real name? And Weinstein confesses. Unbeknownst to Weinstein, they were secretly recording him.
I lied about who I was. Every day they me up doesn't justify it. And I misled you and lied about transactions.
Recordings are really crucial evidence of intent of what Ellie Weinstein was thinking.
I'm curious if the other two guys were in on the Ponzi, because it seems like they just had the network or like the investors to bring capital together. But it seems like they were deceived as well.
And Ponzi and lied to people to cover us for our deals. And you know that, Richard.
He admitted that he had been lying, that he had been pretending to be Mike Koenig, and he attempted to convince Curry and Anderson to continue raising money, to continue with the supposed deals in order to keep them at bay, to prevent them from going to the authorities.
They all decide to kind of keep calm and carry on with the conspiracy.
Oh yeah. So they going to jail.
However, running a scheme like this can affect your behavior, and what investors started to notice was a change in mood from Chris Anderson and Richard Curry. And for a lot of the investors, this was a sign that something may be going wrong.
Year after we started investing, in January, our group went on a marketer's cruise. I liked Chris. Chris also had 2 kids that I knew and his wife. We get on the cruise and he's acting very odd. We knew him for 5 years not to drink, smoke. Now he's drinking. He's like flirting with women, and he asks on the cruise his wife for a divorce in the middle of our cruise. And he was also regaling us with crazy stories. He's talking about people at gunpoint in taxi cabs, how he had to play catch with a dead horse's head. And I was like so appalled. And then it turned out that he wasn't paying anybody back. And then it was shortly after that we found out that there was bad things going on with Ellie Weinstein and him. And yeah, and then he refused to talk to anybody.
As the Ponzi scheme starts to get more and more unwieldy, investors start threatening litigation, and then Curry and Anderson receive...
Okay, so he just pretty much did a Ponzi scheme all over it. I know they said this earlier in the video, but at first I thought they were talking, and I'm probably wasn't paying attention enough to the video, but at first I thought they were talking about all this stuff that was happening in 2013, like 2009, 2013-ish, because I know he went to jail in 2014.
A subpoena.
I didn't know this was him doing his Ponzi scheme after he was released in 2021.
From the SEC. And it's at this...
I should have known that when he used the alias. I'm sorry, guys. But I swear, the story is kind of weird. To
point,
me,
they decide to go to US prosecutors and cut a plea deal.
I found out that Mike Koenig was Eli Weinstein when the media documented the arrest of Weinstein, and that Mike was Weinstein the whole time. You would figure that your best friend would tell you that the whole thing is a Ponzi, but it unfortunately came out through the media.
The evidence in this case for a white-collar case was strong, and the jury thought that that intent was clearly to deceive investors of their money.
In 2025, Weinstein was found guilty, but that isn't where the story ends.
Okay, yeah, because I'm curious if Trump pardoned him again. Like, that would be crazy to me. That would be crazy.
One person that I've spoken to for my reporting says that Weinstein has been reaching out to people, asking if they'd even consider working on his bid for a pardon. This would be quite extraordinary.
Trump's critics will argue that what he has done is discarded a deliberative, sometimes multi-year-long process of pardoning in favour of a more ad hoc system of pay-to-play, one that overtly rewards allies and undermines the criminal justice system in favour of those with wealth and access, regardless of the seriousness of their crimes. The White House has denied such allegations. Though President Joe Biden was criticized by many Republicans for preemptively pardoning members of the military, of Congress, and his own family, who Trump had pledged to target once in office, the bulk of Biden's clemency actions followed established norms.
This is the crazy thing to me. Like, personally, I don't think that anybody should be pardoned or have the power to pardon. Like, I feel as though the people that Trump has pardoned should be in jail or in prison. And I feel like former President Biden's child, like his son, should be in prison. The people he pardoned should be in prison. Unless it was actually something like if they were actually innocent and they were just crossfire from politics. You know what I mean? Like, let's say that the people in government who Biden pardoned, they were innocent, but just because they supported Biden, you know, they were just framed. You know, I know that happens a lot in politics, but I mean, if it's just some crime that goes against everyday people or anything like, I don't believe that is justifiable.
Trump really set the tone on his first day in office when he announced that he was granting mass clemency to more than 1,500 defendants charged in connection with the January 6th riots.
So this is January 6th, approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
2 months after Trump took office, the pardon attorney for the Justice Department, Liz Oyer, was fired. And at the same time, Trump has installed someone he was very close to, a conservative lawyer named Ed Martin.
The pardon power is now being totally and thoroughly politicized, that it will be used as a benefit to those who are supporters of the president and not for those who do not express political loyalty.
In 2025, Trump has granted pardons to a catalogue of high-profile figures. They include the Republican politician George Santos, crypto entrepreneur Chang Peng Zhao, and there are reports of other people in the public eye exploring whether clemency is a viable option for them. They include Sam Bankman-Fried and Ghislaine Maxwell.
And she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ.
There is concern the ordinary person, the average everyday person who might be serving a lengthy prison sentence doesn't have the same means or resources or influence to vie for a pardon, and that the playing field isn't even anymore.
I've read about the Weinstein case, and of course that's the outcome we want to avoid. It does make my work harder because then people don't believe in the whole the way that I do. And I want everybody to believe in clemency as something that can be a positive force. That's a fundamental American ideal that people can change. I mean, we are a nation of people seeking redemption in one way or another. I usually get 3 to 4 pieces of mail a week that'll be about clemency. This is a letter from a woman in prison. She's been in over 10 years, and she says, "Sir, I am far from the person I was when I entered the federal system." I mean, what we're going to look for in a case is a story of redemption that offers that promise.
Okay, I will say this, like, if somebody's changed, I could see them, getting clemency or whatever. But to be honest with you, when it comes to money or like power, I don't really view people changing as much. Because as you can see with this video, I mean, like, he started a Ponzi scheme, he got caught, he got freed, he did another Ponzi scheme all over again. Like, if he really learned his lesson, and maybe he thought he changed, or he was able to deceive people and think he changed, but I don't see how this fucking retard thought that he wasn't going to get caught for a Ponzi scheme again. It's like, and then now he's looking for clemency again. It's like, man, just kill this motherfucker. Just kill this dude. Like, I know that's probably bad to say on YouTube or whatever. Like, they might flag this video, but I mean, like, I just don't see how somebody who could scam people, get clemency, then scam people again, and then ask for clemency again. Just like bury him under the jail. Like, that's crazy to me.
As early as there was criminal law, there was clemency. One thing about clemency is that because it's an unchecked power of the president, it's going to reflect the values of that president. There's some incredibly selfless uses.
Outside Blair House, the president's temporary Washington home, extreme fanatics of the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party try to force their way in, guns blazing, to assassinate the president of the United States.
Oh, wow.
Puerto Rican nationalist named Oscar Collazo tried to assassinate President Truman, and Truman commuted his death sentence. President Trump, we all knew before he was elected, things that are important to him include loyalty and celebrity. And so it should not surprise us that clemency has been used for celebrities and for those who have been loyal to him. A system where people with money get clemency and people without money don't get clemency is not justice. And it's not.
I agree. I do agree with that.
Really mercy either.
I will say this, even if the people who had money receive clemency, I think it should also be people who don't have money, like people who have actually changed. And I will say this, like if you committed murder, I mean, like that's something to me that's hard to forgive. And even the whole Ponzi scheme thing, like I do think that it's wrong. I definitely think it's wrong to defraud people of their money and life savings. But I think it kind of comes down to one of those weird, like, gray area things, because if somebody murdered somebody is in prison, but the murder was like self-defense, or like, and they just still were found guilty, or, you know, maybe there have been plenty of murder cases where the people have been found innocent, like decades afterwards. Like, these are the type of things that I think clemency should be on. But like when a guy commits a crime, like a white collar crime, and gets clemency, to be honest with you, I somewhat understand it because it's not as bad as murder, you know, per se. But I don't know, like these things are just so complex, and it's like a case by case basis. But I definitely don't like this guy, Weinstein, or whatever his name is. I don't like him. I don't like him. If he gets clemency, like, oh, that's horrible.
There is a danger here of the pardon system looking like a pay-to-play system, that without paying huge amounts of fees to well-connected and high-powered lawyers and lobbyists, you are not going to have a chance at clemency.
If Weinstein is seeking another commutation, there's an increasing number of lawyers across America who can point to successful track records with the Trump administration.
That sure was nice.
So these are printouts of the presidential proclamation for two of our clients. This is generally the form that all of the pardons are going to take in terms of this administration. The president actually will sign those. I can't imagine that in any of these cases he's spending more than 10, 15, 30 minutes max on an issue for an individual pardon. So generally you've got to find the people who are in places to actually work on this on a day-to-day basis, make sure they have the information they need, and let them do their work for the president. First thing you open up is, here's the reason this person deserves a pardon. A lot of times we'll put the underlying case documents, like the judgment, the things that would go in there, letters of support. You have to tell a story that hits on the issues that this.
I will say this, it does, like, it's like one of those unequal things about capitalism, because it takes a decent amount of capital to get a lawyer like this that's gonna fight for you. Because the one I saw in Minnesota where he was trying to help the lady who was in prison 10 years ago or whatever, like, he'll go to bat for you, but is he really gonna be able to like go to bat for you? You know what I mean? Like, so for example, for this lawyer, let's say that you have $2 million that you're willing to spend on lawyer fees to seek a pardon. You know, he could, you know, I don't unofficially bribe politicians or people within Trump or any president's, like, you know, circle to try and mention it to him to take a look at it. You know what I mean? And, you know, I don't think necessarily the president himself would directly benefit from the bribe, but, you know, like, for example, like if I was president, and let's say I have a best friend named Arrow, and for whatever reason, if Arrow was like, hey man, you should look into this, and Arrow benefited from it. And sorry to throw you under the bus with this like example, Arrow, but you know, I would look at it because Arrow's one of my best friends, so I would check it out and look at it. But you know, if it's just some random person or random politician or you know, employee or whatever that comes with me with something, I'm like, yeah, I might check it out, and I maybe never get to it. But because they were able to bribe somebody close to me that I trust and care about, you know, I would look into it and actually consider it and think about it. And I think that's a huge difference. Like that money definitely becomes, you know, more useful for people who have it in situations like that. And then maybe if I were to look at both cases, I would pardon the lady rather than the person with money. But just because the person with money was able to get to somebody who had, you know, a little bit more pull with me, I would be more willing to pardon them just because of the fact that I looked into it more. And I would say, you know, and then people might say that, oh, you're a horrible person for thinking that way. But I mean, it is what it is. Like, if you think about it yourself, like if your friend comes and tells you about something, you're more willing to listen to your friend than some random person on the street or some person or like one of your coworkers or whatever. So I'm not saying that, you know, you're just as bad as me or anything like that. But I mean, it is what it is. It's just, you know, when you have relationships with people, you're more willing to listen to them and their concerns and stuff.
The president cares about. Here you have an administration that clearly has been motivated by things that have happened in the criminal justice system that they have seen to be incredibly unfair. The president had a conviction, but he also was subject to multiple different investigations. So you have a president who's been under that sort of scrutiny, who understands the impact of that on individuals.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial.
And I think that has to change your view as to, you know, what is fair and unfair.
I do strongly believe that almost everyone can be rehabilitated. I think, unfortunately,
I agree with that. I think the majority of people can be rehabilitated and, you know, come back into society. But I think there's like this stigma once you get like a reputation. Like, to be honest with you, it would have been more like, to kind of go into this Weinstein case, it would have been more, I would have loved to have seen a story where he went to jail for Ponzi and then he was rehabilitated and he got out on a pardon. And then maybe he would have been dishonest in his identity to raise capital, but then to do business the right way, you know, to actually get these face masks and do everything the right way. And then if he did come out and then people were like, oh, he's a scammer, blah, blah, blah. But if he's actually giving you returns and wasn't doing a Ponzi, like that would have been a beautiful story to hear. You know what I mean? Because, you know, once you hear about somebody being a scammer, you're never going to invest with them or anything like that, or being a Ponzi league or I don't even know I don't even know what the word would be. What would the person be, like the noun for Ponzi schemer? And anyways, I probably sound retarded, but anyways, you know, that would have been a nice story to hear. But you know, just the fact that he Ponzi'd and then Ponzi'd again, it's crazy.
Mr. Weinstein has proven time and again that the more chances he's given doesn't mean that he's going to use them to do good, to get redemption, to pay back his victims. And perhaps at this point, he's out of chances.
This was the third residential memory care home I purchased for my expanding business, and I had beautiful architectural plans designed to expand it. Unfortunately, I had to sell it because of everything that happened. So there went my business expansion.
Unfortunately, I lost a little over $1 million over the course of 5 deals. So it impacts relationships, and there have been some members in the community where it ultimately led to divorce. I was just angry at myself, angry that I could trust someone, And that anger and that depression spilled out over, into my personal life. So my kids would even ask me, like, Dad, why do you hate me?
Damn, that's tough.
It's hard to answer that question to my son. You just think about, could they be better off without you?
I felt that before.
The victims are just lost in history, whereas the fraudsters get out of jail for free and then potentially do it again.
Dang, $44 million is crazy. Dang. Well, that's the video. I plan to do a lot more videos, but my gorgeous fiance made me some lunch, so I will come back in probably like an hour or two. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video.